Admiral, let me ask you about China in Latin America. They seem to be growing their footprint there, One Belt, One Road, other things that they're doing there. I know you can't address all of that from your perspective, but from your perspective, what can you address? And tell me about what you can do and what we can do to help you to try to push back against China in our own neighborhood.
The National Defense Strategy rightly calls out China as a competitor. It's gone beyond that around the world, frankly. We're in conflict with China in the information space and for the values and democracy. We see that in this hemisphere. Over 60 port projects, that includes what we see in the Northcom and the Southcom, 56 in Southcom in the Caribbean. They've locked up big development areas, both sides of the Panama Canal, significant IT infrastructure investments. They have military dimensions to their involvement in space stations in a couple of the nations. Any discussion by China that this is soft power is simply not the truth. In the information space, we see where China state spokesmen are outright just blatantly lying about some of the causality in Venezuela with respect to the electrical infrastructure, which was clearly Maduro's ineptness is the reason why the country doesn't have electrical power, and China blaming it on the U.S. So across the front, democracy, human rights, rule of law, sovereignty, our partners and the values that this neighborhood has are aligned on those dimensions, and I don't know how I know how China's don't align across those dimensions. And so the best response for us is to be that strong, reliable, consistent partner, to be able to deliver our security assistance on time with a program that has a return on investment for America and enhances the security of our partners. That starts with intelligence sharing. I get my best advice, best insights from the Chief of Defense. Yesterday, for example, on the phone with the Brazilian Chief of Defense and the Colombian Chief of Defense with respect to insights on the Venezuela situation. But again, back to China, completely unhelpful in Venezuela and across the hemisphere. The One Belt, One Road in front of that term is certainly epitomizes what they're up to. One way for China's way.
Well, I get concerned sometimes. We look at China and we think about the South China Sea and places over there in the Western Pacific, and we forget that they're present in our own hemisphere. And I'm concerned about that. I think a lot of us are very concerned about that, and we want to make sure that we're giving you the resources you need to accomplish what you have to accomplish in your mission, that is to protect us and protect our neighbors in this hemisphere. So please let us know in the future what you need for us to give to you that you need to do your job, and I'd like for us to do it.
My first question is to Admiral Fowler. You know, Venezuela used to be the richest, wealthiest country in South America and in the region. Both the dictatorship and the socialist policies have broke it. Can you just give us your feedback on just how bad it is for the average Venezuelan?
Shortly after I assumed command, I had the opportunity to go out on the United States naval ship Comfort, which we had deployed to the region to provide comfort, medical support, life-saving stability to the entire region that was impacted by this crisis. And I got to see some small children, 8-year-old, 9-year-old kids. The average Venezuelan's lost 20 pounds in the last year. These kids were emaciated. This is the first time they'd received any medical treatment in their lives. I don't think they knew who I was or what I was about. Their mother certainly did. And the look in her eye and the conditions that she represented impacts the entire region. Over 3 million people have been migrated out of Venezuela. It's on track to be worse than the Syria migration crisis by the end of this year. And that is affecting all aspects of life. 90% of the people are malnutritioned and starving. Most of the country's without power. We see that daily. And it's a dictatorship and brutal in all ways.
The governance has devastated its own people, is what I'm hearing.
Yes, sir.
On a different tact, it seems to me that Colombia and Chile has been sort of the pillars of our engagement in South America, or at least our closest relationships. Do I have that characterized right?
Colombia is an example when we have a long view. We stick to a plan over 20 years, as Secretary Wilberger stated, with people committed to their own democracy, their own security. where we can have impacts. Colombia this year is on track to train over 1,000 security personnel in Central America. Those security personnel are going to contribute to the security of their countries, Honduras, Guatemala, El Salvador, and beyond, and the United States. They're a capable and willing partner. Chile stepped up and has stepped up consistently. They have participated in some of our international exercises at a leadership level, and they remain a very capable and committed partner.
I sense from what I'm hearing from Brazil that there's a desire to draw closer with us, which is, I think, good news. Could you just give us your views or your perspective on the potential of what we can do with the stronger ties with Brazil?
Brazil's a resource-rich country that has the same values of us, the second largest democracy in the hemisphere. They are all in. We've been down to Brazil. They've been to see us. We're integrating our staffs. We're sharing information. They're looking for ways to strengthen intelligence sharing, exercises, education. Part of our security assistance program is so important is this international military education and training IMET that it's referred to. It's a State Department funded in foreign assistance. It's foundation. We build lifelong friends. I'm looking to double that this year, but I will need the support of Congress to raise that level of assistance. And Brazil's all in. They want to double the number of people they send to our schools.
Thank you. General Shaughnessy, you have such an important mission. So does STRATCOM, so does the future of Space Command, and it seems like there's some overlapping potential there or mission areas. How do you deconflict, and what are some of the challenges there? Thank you.
Yeah, I think it may be looked at as a challenge, but it's also an opportunity. And we're clearly, as STRATCOM has morphed over several years, if you look at Cyber Command coming out, now look at Space Command, and that has given us an opportunity to really look at all of the mission sets and try to determine what's the best organizational construct there. What I will say and report, without a doubt, it is a collaborative perspective that we're taking. And if you look at all of the players, whether it be General Hyten, whether it'll be at least under Air Force Space Command is being worked by Jay Raymond, how do we best do this? That's the only question that's being asked. I think we'll be able to work our way through this, but in the end, I think we'll end up being stronger than we are today.
Turn my mic back on. Are we where we need to be when it comes to speediness of response? NORTHCOM detects threats, then STRATCOM would have to respond. Do we have that as seamless as possible?
I would say we do, and then actually it's NORTHCOM responds as well as the operational. We're actually the ones who do the ballistic missile defense, STRATCOM, and we're tied on the same conferences and literally seconds, not minutes in the way we respond together.